staffing and RPO world in creating strategies and tech stacks to drive candidate engagement, drive conversion rate improvements, pipelining. And I've been with Talkpush for a couple of years now. And what I realized is that how a lot of companies work with candidates is they're still thinking in the 2000s, they're still emailing, they're still picking up the phone all the time. So we realized that, well, actually the younger generation, they're not, oh, my slide went a bit fast, but the younger generation aren't into that anymore. They want things now. So they want to have feedback from their interview immediately. They don't want to wait for an email or a phone call. They want to be on Messenger. They want to be on WhatsApp, WeChat, wherever you are in the world. They want GIFs, they want emojis, they want to have a bit of fun. They don't want to spend, next slide, please. They don't want to spend long periods on a long time on applications. They don't want to spend 20 minutes going through registrations to Workday and so on. They want a much better experience. So that's why we exist at Talkpush. And to end my intro, Talkpush created a solution that's designed to build relationships with candidates, a CRM. We want to have conversations. We want to speak to candidates on multiple channels, which is mainly Facebook Messenger, SMS, WhatsApp, all the different channels are in the local regions across the globe. So you got WeChat in China, Viber in the Philippines, lots of different channels that we need to dig into. So we've really focused on a candidate experience. And I think that without further ado, I think that's about me on my slides. But this is the kind of productivity we see. I forgot that slide was there, but I'll at that point, I'm going to hand over to Gillisa to introduce herself and Wilson before we get going.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Gillisa Pope, and I am the Director of Sourcing Strategy and Design at WilsonHCG. And I am really excited to be here today with everyone to talk about talent pipelining and offer some really practical strategies and tactics that you can take away and implement with your teams right away. I have been in the industry for over 15 years. I was actually recruited to be a recruiter right out of college. I fell in love with the work and I've been doing it ever since. I've been with Wilson for 10 years, so a little bit of, an original joiner to the organization. We are a talent solution provider. We operate in 6 continents and over 65 countries. I would just say we are a group of really talented, passionate people who love recruiting and talent acquisition and talent attraction and everything that goes along with it. And we love solving any kind of challenges that you might have in the talent attraction and acquisition space. I'm also a senior member of our innovation team, and within that team, my deep domain experience is in talent community and talent pipelining, as well as employment branding. Next slide. So at Wilson, we offer a lot of solutions as well, so to kind of help you with any needs that you might have. So we do recruitment process outsourcing, we have contingent solutions, we also have executive search and talent consulting. So again, I'm just really excited to be here. I love this conversation, talent pipelining, talent community, employment branding, technology. It's right in my wheelhouse. So I will try not to talk for an entire 45 minutes, but I really could. Wonderful. So I guess we have like a question to start off with, right? So we wanted to engage you guys right away. You're here about talent pipelining, but let's throw up a quick poll just to get a sense of kind of what you're looking to learn today. Are you guys, is anyone on the call expecting a quick ramp up soon, right? So as we're building back our talent base, 1 second. That key never barks. I'm so sorry.
This is 2020.
This is working from home. He never barks. But yeah, as we're building back our talent base, right? I think the interesting thing that had happened over the last year is that we kind of all experienced, a lull in activity. We all had a new normal come right away. And no matter where you were, that's an interesting perspective being in an RPO. So, I work with clients that are all over the world. In different industries and different sectors, working with different critical talent segments. And we all kind of felt that dip at the same time. And we're all just kind of building back our talent base now. So it's a really energized, exciting time as we begin to build back and strengthen that talent base. But yeah, it's okay. 13%. Yes, absolutely. Currently experiencing a ramp up. Good to know. Half the people, yeah. I don't know. Who knows
anything anymore? I don't know anything. I'm not going to lie. The world is upside down completely. It's kind of interesting that some people are expecting, but a lot of people are actually experiencing ramp ups. And firstly, I want to say that's great news from 6 months ago, we didn't know what was going on. People were losing their jobs. The world really halted. And now we're all ramping up. We're getting people back into work. Life is hopefully returning to normal. So that's excellent news. It really is. Makes me quite happy. And we've got a question already, so why don't we use that as a nice way to bridge the conversation. What techs do you use to manage talent campaigns at Wilson? By name's not showing up, I think. Barbara.
Barbara. Oh, wonderful. So there are a lot of different technologies that we would utilize to manage and handle campaigns at WilsonHCG. I said one of the major components that you need in place for a good pipelining strategy is a candidate relationship management tool. Now, a CRM is a little bit different than an ATS, right? So a CRM functions the same way that a marketing automation tool would if you're in a sales capacity. A CRM is like the front end of your talent, your ATS, right? So it provides you an opportunity to let somebody opt into your talent network. So a job seeker comes to your career site, they're checking it out, they like what they see, the timing's not right, but they want to stay engaged for future opportunities. They'll opt in. Once they opt in, they come into the CRM, and the CRM tool should have campaign management tools in place that enable you to qualify that individual as they come in, so qualify them as a pipeline qualified lead, and then segment them in terms of their interest and the type of opportunities that they would be qualified for or interested in the future and current, and then begin to build that relationship with them in a really meaningful way. So like Ben had talked about, and I think Ben, it would be great for you to kind of talk about this a little bit too, is what you're looking for in a good CRM is being able to really communicate with an individual the way that they want to be communicated with, right? So emails, calls, texting, you know what I mean? You want to be able to reach them in kind of an omni-channel way. So if your CRM typically has email capabilities, but you might want to look for a technology to augment to give you a little bit more of those features and functionalities as you communicate. So a really good CRM is what we would have in place. And at Wilson, we use Avature quite a bit, but we're also technology agnostic. So a lot of our clients have tools and technologies in place. And a lot of times we come in and we help them optimize those tools. We configure workflows and data models and different things like that, just to make sure that the CRM is operating properly. I think a CRM is probably one of the most underutilized tools in a stack from what we see across the board. So any thoughts on that, Ben?
Yeah, we find, well, the CRM is normally for us, it's used for the attraction piece. It's very much the sourcer versus recruiter model where you've got your sourcers who are really focused on engaging the talent and driving them through to the recruiters at the right stage. Are logged into your CRM. And we find that by adding different touches, like a sales pipeline, you're able to improve your conversions. So for sales and marketing have been doing this for a long time. They've been doing drip content to their leads. And all your applicants are also leads. So you get an applicant who's come in and they're just a little bit interested. Maybe they haven't completely applied for a job, but they've gone to maybe your Facebook page, they've come onto your career website and they've clicked some kind of interest button. Now they're at the top of your funnel, what do? Well, we need to engage them. We need to share with them content. And you can't do that every day with one person replying to thousands of people. So you need to use your CRM to automate those steps. And then based on those actions from a candidate, maybe they click a video or click more information, or actually what jobs do you have, or where is the office located? Based on those responses from candidates, we can then start to drive them through the process at the right step for them, keeping them in your pool at all times, keeping them hot, warm, excited. And that's something we've been doing for about 7 years in the company. Talkpush, we've been really focusing on how do we take a lead from, say, Indeed, who's just registered a little bit of interest, or from your career website, all the way to the recruiter in the most optimal way. And that's really with drip marketing and automating those different steps in your conversation. And that you need a CRM to do. Do you have a recruitment marketer on your team? This is, I actually really like this question, yeah, because you'll be surprised at how many people don't. But I would love to see the answer from this audience. So yeah. No, I would be standing up, but I'm at my home office, and normally I would stand up, and I get a little bit.
I know, I'm excited too. We're like two peas in a pod. So, yeah, recruitment marketer on the team. What is that? Okay, good. So I want to backtrack a little bit, because I think these are really good questions. And I know there was another question in the chat of how many, what percentage of hire do you think you should have from the talent community? And the question, and that's kind of all related, but the answer to that question is it depends, right? So I would say a general rule of thumb, it depends on how evolved you are in your talent pipelining strategy and the different methodologies that you have in place to pipeline talent. But if you are just starting and you're developing a strategy, I would say that a third of your hires should be coming from that talent pipeline. And as you evolve and you start to accelerate that strategy and innovate that strategy, your talent pipeline or talent community should be the number one source of hire for your team, as you start to evolve. So it's usually employee referrals and then talent community are the 1 and 2 spot. They can be very close, but that's really what you should be aiming for if you want a high functioning, high velocity sourcing group within your organization.
I have a question I want to fire you, Gillisa. 50% or nearly 50% of the audience said that they don't have a recruitment marketer. So let's say you don't have one. It's not something you can just hire today. So how would you suggest this team getting started? Maybe taking over the responsibility themselves for a little while to build that talent community from scratch.
So that's a great question. When you are starting, I'll kind of start at the basic, right? So talent pipelining is really about maintaining relationships with quality talent for future opportunities. And the first thing that you need to do is to create a talent relationship management methodology. So what is the journey and the experience that you want that talent to go through as they engage with you, express interest, and you begin to nurture that relationship over time? So that is the foundation of where you want to start. It doesn't need to be overly complex. It doesn't need to be anything that is, grandiose in any way, shape, or form, but just the experience and the feeling that you want people to have. Then you have to look at your team. There's a couple different ways to pipeline talent and a couple team members that are involved with that. So most people have full life cycle recruiters who are on the front end, right? And they're managing the relationship with the hiring manager. They're also sourcing talent, and they are getting that talent through the recruitment process. That's a lot of work, right? That's a lot of in the moment work that's going on right now. It is difficult for a full life cycle recruiter to do the in the moment work of recruiting, but then look back and maintain a relationship with somebody who was qualified, but the timing was wrong, right? So it's very difficult for that, those two systems of work to happen at the same time with one person, right? What you end up doing in that situation is a really good recruiter will build up candidate inventory sort of ad hoc, just in case. So I met this person, I really like them, they're not ready right now, I'm going to put them aside just in case I need to re-engage them. But what happens, right? That re-engagement doesn't come, or it comes at the point of need, and that individual is like, did your mom ever ask you, like when you ask your mom to find something for you and she's ever like, it didn't grow legs and walk away, right? Like in your talent pipeline, it's literally people in there, they can grow legs and walk away. So you need to decide to have, or you need to bring in a separate sourcing team, right? You need to have a dedicated team of individuals who are going out in the market, identifying the critical talent segments that your business needs that are typically in volume. They're going out, they're mapping the market, they're proactively engaging people, they're making introductions to your organization, they're gathering information about those individuals, and they're maintaining relationships with them over time. If you are just getting started, a good sourcer can also be a recruitment marketer, right? So they can also help to create some content and material that will engage people over time. It's good if they have sound inbound methodology in their background, so they understand how to create a nurture campaign or a sequence, or to use the technology to maintain relationships with people over time. A lot of it also depends on how strong your employment branding team is and how you guys work cross-functionally, because your employment branding team can also kind of create a content repository that your sourcer, who is both sourcing and acting as a recruitment marketer, can pull from and use to engage talent over time. I think a lot of it is making the best use of what you have and creatively adapting it for the nurture sequences. And that's a really easy way to get started with recruitment marketing if you don't have a recruitment marketing team, or you don't have one on your team. Another thing that I'll note, half or a little close to half have recruitment marketers on their teams. I think if you were to pipeline and build a pipeline at scale, you need to think about having a recruitment marketer work as a system within a recruitment team. So you have a recruiter, a sourcer, and a recruitment marketer. It depends on the volume that you're handling and the scale that you need to meet your hiring objectives. So a lot of times there's just one recruitment marketer that's handling a lot, but you might need to hire more recruitment marketers to work kind of almost in pods and groups with sourcing teams.
Well, I took several notes there. It's kind of, I guess, like playing the long game with your talent, right? And you, as you say, being in the moment, it's impossible even to look back and at the right time to give somebody the right attention. You know, you've just rejected them from a job, and now you're messaging them 6 months later, "Hey, do you want to come work for us?" It's not going to happen. We at Talkpush, we've been talking about a lot of automation of this particular portion. Certainly with connecting with the candidates, we use chatbots to do a lot of conversational work with our talent, and keeping them up to date and keeping the conversation going. And we find that when you start to use some automation, you've got more time on your hands, and then maybe you can split a recruitment team where some of them are going from being these, in the moment recruiters to content creators, where they're writing these sequences to drip to candidates, or they're writing a blog post to put on the career site or their Facebook page or things like that. And you can actually use the technology side to help you kind of do as I said earlier, what marketers have been doing for years, and really share content to your team to free up your time. Barbara, again, you're asking lots of questions. This is awesome. Is the role of the recruitment marketer the same as the old sourcing channel role?
Yes and no. I mean, I would say there's components of it. I think if you're, so I'm going to assume that you meant by old sourcing channels role, somebody that is handling the advertisement of, the opportunities, and making sure that they're, the teams are focused on the highest value sources and channels to yield the results that you want in terms of recruiting. I think there are components of that, but I think the role is also elevated for the time. So I think a recruitment marketer is really somebody who understands recruiting and sourcing, but thinks like a marketer, who can create content for the masses, but then also to create hyper-personalized content for a one-on-one as well. I think the person who is in a recruitment marketing role needs to be extremely intuitive and empathetic, but also analytical and logical. So they need to be able to kind of implement and execute strategies right away, look at the results, like understand why the outcome is the outcome, and start to kind of change things as they go along. So I think it's a much elevated role, very similar, but much elevated for the time.
So I guess it's a much more interesting role than just processing candidates. little less admin-y.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit less admin-y, and I think you get to use a lot of cool technology too, and the inbound strategy. You know what I mean? So that's kind of another component. You need to be a little bit of a technologist, right? And to be able to kind of build what you need on the front end. I think a lot of what people are going to experience now as we're building back our talent bases globally is volume. Lots and lots of volume coming in, and the need to be able to quickly assess that volume, qualify that volume, and then segment it so you are not only building relationships with talent that's qualified right now for immediate needs, but you're also nurturing and building those relationships with talent that might be emerging into the roles, or talent that you don't need in the immediate future, but you will 2 to 3 years down the road. And so you're just going to have to be able to process that volume and organize it very, very quickly. And you can't do that unless you have the proper tech stack for that.
Yeah. Exactly. We've got quite I haven't been able to read all of Tori's message yet.
Making unique EVP elements that resonate. Sorry, I'm so excited. I want to get to these questions.
Yeah, having a central space for content, and as you say, like a playbook, I think is hugely important, and that comes out of the marketing and sales playbook already, right? Talkpush, we have playbooks for multiple different roles in our company, whether it's customer success, recruitment, sales, marketing. And our recruitment, we have just a couple of recruiters because we're not hiring huge volumes ourselves. But they have access to tons of content. They have hiring manager videos that are talking about the roles or talking about the team. All the content is stored in one location for them to pick and pluck and post. And that's part of the playbook that we designed. You know, it takes quite a lot of time to create these, but once you got them created, you can just tweak them, add that into your technology to help your team share, to help your candidates receive. Playbooks are hugely important. Right? If she's struggling, spend a couple of weeks doing it. It will be worth it in the long run.
The interesting thing too is, and this goes back to the EVP and the employment branding aspect of talent pipeline building. What we actually started to see this trending coming into 2021, and we're only seeing the trend get a little bit stronger almost like every single day, is the employee voice being so important when you are talking about your recruitment marketing content and your employee value proposition. So the content that you create, people, they connect stronger with somebody on video, hearing somebody's voice, having them tell their story. It doesn't need to be long. It could be small, like you said, the TikTok effect, 30-second video, right? But very genuine, very authentic, very spontaneous content being generated right now. And the best way to achieve that is to empower your employees to create content themselves within a framework of your brand. So coming up with different strategies and methods for surveying your talent base, asking them like, why are you here? What do you think our EVP is? Having them record their responses, write the responses, whatever way that they're comfortable doing that. Collect that information and create content from that. And that's going to help you, I think, create some of the material that you will need to nurture individuals long term, and also amplify your brand just to attract people back to your communities.
Yeah. My own experience actually from when I was actually on the job market and how I came across Talkpush. I was a job seeker, and I came across Talkpush on a job board, and I had a little look into them before I applied because they asked for quite a bit of information. They wanted like a whole personalized message. So before I did, I wanted to see if I actually liked them. And the first thing I read was like who the company was, and I loved there was this one piece where some of us wear suits and go to the office, others wear sandals and go to the beach, but we all work in the same direction. I thought, I'm the guy on the beach. I'm wearing the sandals. And then I started browsing, and I got onto their YouTube channel, and I came across someone in HR who had done this like video of a day in the life of her. Where she, from the moment she got in a taxi all the way to the office, and hanging out with the guys at the work, work colleagues, but very friendly, having a lot of fun. And it was quite genuine. It wasn't like one of those, I don't know, TV ads where everyone's pretending to be friends. It was really quite genuine, and it got me quite excited. So I put in a little bit more passion into my application. I got very excited, and then I got the interview, and the excitement continued, and I got the job. Here I am. And honestly, the video not just got me to actually go ahead and do the application, but it also got me really wanting this job over. And I was applying for a lot of jobs at the time, like many of your candidates are today with the job market. So a little bit of content, a little bit of video can go a hell of a long way. Yeah. What is your take on landing pages for pipelines, unique to that audience, and how does it rank in your recruitment marketing tools? I'll just go first on this one. We've been working with landing pages for quite some time, and I think if it can work for the right audience. We actually created one specifically for our graduates. And there, I won't show you, but maybe we can put it in I'll put a link and you can go have a look at it. I'll grab it now. Here we go. I won't share on the screen though. But we created this page specifically to educate graduates, to be put a lot of imagery on the page. We put a little chat bot there that wasn't asking for any information, but was just sharing the life at Talkpush, giving them pictures, just really selling the content, selling the lifestyle of Talkpush. And you'll see when you go in, like we have like beach photos and things like that. Ivana posted it too. And then at the end of that page, if they're interested, they can share some content. So what we were doing there is we're looking at what is a graduate looking for? They want to travel, and maybe not so much now, but they want to travel, they want excitement, they want to learn something new. They've just come out of university, they're very young and wanting to just, I guess, experiment with their job as well and see a company that's exciting to work for. Certainly if you're looking at a startup like us, we're competing with the graduate programs of big banks and big corporate organizations that have all the fluff that we don't. So we need to drive that excitement. So I think landing pages work a lot if you're selling. That's why you'll have a lot of ads on your Facebook page that you click will take you to a landing page where they sell you their service or their solution because they're able to do it more visually. And I think landing pages are great. But I'd love to hear your thoughts, Gillisa, and
Yeah, absolutely. I think landing pages are very useful in terms of segmentation. So a lot of times what we'll see is segmentation based on critical talent pipelines. So the areas or businesses or functions that you need to hire the most, or that are the most difficult or hardest to hire for, technology being one of them, right? So I think being able to segment your career site or create landing pages that provide specific information that would be helpful, useful, or engaging to that audience that you want to attract to your organization is really helpful. I think also a lot of times, like you said, there's university segmentation. So if you're not doing it by critical business function, a lot of times you'll see a separate experience or separate content or information to attract a student. Like you said, students are very different. This generation emerging into the workforce is unlike any other. They have an 8-second attention span. But really what it is, well, yeah, but I think what's interesting, and I'll go down a little bit of a rabbit hole, just in terms of the persona of this generation, it's an 8-second attention span. A lot of people misunderstand that. So it's not that they only pay attention for 8 seconds, but they have a sophisticated information filtration system that they use to decide whether something is interesting to them, useful to them, valuable to them, should they take action. They do it so quickly because they're native technology users. So having a segmented page that gets something across punchy, that tells a story visually, that has video, that could be very useful, very impactful when you're attracting that generation or that emerging workforce that's coming into play right now. A lot of times we look at having different pages for individuals who have a veteran status, who've served, in the military, and they have different wants and desires and needs. Oftentimes different information helps them consider the opportunity at a deeper level. The same, a lot of times we'll see things in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion as well. So having that, I think they can be very, very effective and impactful. The only thing that you need to consider or be aware of is how that person gets to the landing page, how you're collecting that data, and how you're using it in your comprehensive strategy, right? So you want to make sure that you aren't losing unified candidate records using landing pages instead of using your CRM or your website, right? So you want to make sure that you have all of that connected so you can understand who's coming to that page, what they're looking at, how they're converting, so you can optimize.
Yeah, definitely. Our like next step, I suppose. So where the landing page is the top of funnel, and now they've submitted their interest. What is your next step? One of our next steps is they give us their telephone number, and then we'll contact them on WhatsApp. I don't think that's so much used in maybe the US. Maybe it would be SMS or even Facebook Messenger or other channels where we can continue the conversation. We're not pressuring them to apply yet. We're not getting them to go read a job description that's super boring and filling out like, register to my Workday, please. Like that they've done about 1,000 times already today. So, you got to think about how the next step is so that you can then convert those quality leads that have come in as well. And like you say, connecting that to your CRM or whatever your solution is. Yeah. Do you use psychometric tools to access the career drivers and motives, which can be revalidated during interview process? We don't. Some clients that I've come across have actually started moving away. They're telling me that they're a little bit biased. Some studies have reported they're a little bit biased towards particular universities. So my experience has been quite negative here. So I'm going to take a step out because I don't want to be too opinionated. And I'll let you take over this one.
Yeah, I think they can be useful. Absolutely. I think if you were to incorporate a tool like that into your stack to help you understand the ideal hiring profile that you want to attract to create that persona and then validate that with your recruiting efforts and measuring the success of the individuals that you brought into the organization, I think it can be very useful. My advice would be to really sit down with that technology partner and understand how they are analyzing that information. And like Ben said, you want to be very cognizant and aware of not unintentionally introducing unconscious bias into the process. So I think that can be very useful, but I think that it is definitely a technology that you want to investigate very deeply. You want to make sure that you're asking the right questions around, you know, how the assessment is created, the benchmarks that they're using, how they assess talent coming in. Don't be afraid to ask as many questions as you want if you're going to think about incorporating that tool. At Wilson, part of our innovation team, we do technology evaluations all the time. So psychometric assessments are something that we've looked at, that we've worked with our clients on, that we've implemented and tested. And so it is just a tool that is very, very useful. But again, any tool has to be used the correct way. So that would be my advice if you were thinking about incorporating it, is investigate it, ask questions, look at all of them, make sure that you fully understand what it's measuring and how it's making that determination for you.
And I would also suggest you use it at the right moment in your recruitment process. If you ask for someone to commit to one of these assessments too early on, you're going to have a lot of drop off. And a lot of quality talent may be put off by you asking for so much without giving them something back in return, first of all. I was studying a recruitment process recently, and someone would do a quick apply on LinkedIn, which is really good because it's speedy for the candidate. But then the next step is they get an email to start doing these assessments, and they're like 40 minutes long. And that goes back to nobody wants to do a job application for 20 minutes. It's the same thing. It's although they've already applied, they can't continue their application until they've completed this. So maybe try to talk to the candidate before you ask them to do 20, 30, 40 minutes. And if you can't do it face-to-face, it's not face-to-face, sorry, if you can't do it over the phone or with a human being, that's where you can use scalable chatbot solutions. You could sell the job beforehand, like, hey, watch this video. This is what it's all about. You know, would you like to do this psychometric now? You know, but talk to your candidate before you ask them to spend 20, 30 minutes doing something. Hi, you're welcome. Talking about chatbots for a moment, I would love to do a poll. How many people are using chatbots here in different parts of their organization? I'm a chatbot company, so we use them everywhere, but I'm starting to come across them in all walks of business. Is your company leveraging chatbot technology? Yeah, you can just type yes or no. No.
Oh.
No. Tori. May. We got one. Quite a lot of no's. Quite a lot of no's. Do you, Kirsty? I wonder how are you? Are you introducing chatbots to do a lot of pre-screening? Or pre-screening, or are you thinking of like, are you using them to schedule interviews? Are you using them to try to continue to sell the job, or are you just using them to process data? I find that a lot of people get very focused in what can the chatbot do to automate my life? but we also need to think about the candidate again. We need to think about how do we improve that experience that can improve conversions. All of the above, great. What can we use the chatbots to make how can we use the chatbot to make the life of our candidate better is what I'm kind of getting at. And this kind of goes into your CRM, your landing page, like how do we leverage different tech to drive candidates through the process? And exactly, about making the candidate experience easier for them. Easier for the candidate, and then in turn it's actually easier for you because you don't have to spend 20 hours a day calling calling candidates. Awesome. Funding is the hitch. Funding is always the hitch, I think. Do you have come across that problem as well, that you've got all these ideas that you want to do the best pipelining strategy in the world, but you just don't have the money? That's to you.
To me.
Listen. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think
your customers.
But yeah, well, I was like, well, that pipeline. So I would say, when you look at talent pipelining, and I'm a very back to basics, brass tacks kind of strategist. So when you look at pipelining, it can be so overwhelming, right? So you have all the different components that you need to incorporate together. So you have your sourcing team and your recruiting team, and you need to have a branding team, and you need to have the technology, and you need to have the talent relationship methodology and the workflows and the configuration and everything all coming together to make time, because it can seem enormous. Mm-hmm. Pipelining is going to be critically important because there is just across the board a skill gap. And so when you are recruiting in the moment and you're talking to people and you're meeting to people, and active candidates that are qualified get in front of the hiring manager, and then the hire is made, and then all those people, all that work kind of goes into the black hole. You have to maximize the work that you did in that moment upfront through pipelining. I would say that start off small with a proof of concept, right? So start to develop a strategy. You need a CRM. If you don't have a CRM, you can be clever with your ATS. Almost every ATS has a way of creating a pipeline requisition or tagging or segmenting people. So you can be creative with that. And start small, pipeline with your critical talent segments, get proof of concept, show how it works. I've built pipelining strategies that yield results on average, 3 times faster than business as usual recruiting. I've had pipelines that have a 1-to-1 conversion ratio. So for every person we pull out of the pipeline for a requisition, they're immediately interviewed. We have pipelines that are running at a 61% engagement rate. So people excited about working for our clients. It works, right? So get your proof of concept and then start using that to build the business case to bring in technology. And I think the first technology would be, having a CRM if you don't have it, chatbots. There's a lot of different options that are on the market, but I think they're extraordinarily useful because a lot of people come to your site off hours. A lot of people have questions they need answered. A lot of people need help down through the funnel. Chatbots, I almost want to say, think about that technology, not as a technology, but a teammate. Give it a job, right? As if you were to hire somebody, right? You can hire a technology to do a little bit of that work. And that's, kind of how I would go about it, kind of building a proof of concept and getting the funding that you need to bring in the tech stack to support a scalable strategy for talent pipelining. But it's always a challenge. Securing the funding is always a challenge. So
tell me about it. Interestingly, what you read there, TA is not a revenue generating function. I actually disagree. Because, well, I guess it depends on the business that you work for or that your company does, but the employees that you're hiring are likely in some way related to generating revenue. Mm-hmm. Whether you hire a salesperson, if they're onboarded right, you hire the right talent, they generate revenue. You hire a developer, They build or fix a product, you sell it, generate revenue. So an effective, a highly effective TA team really does generate revenue. It's just harder to quantify, I suppose.
Well, it is the lifeblood of, or talent is what makes an organization work, right? Is the most important element. I get up all day, every day with that mindset that the work that I'm doing is the absolute most important work. Bringing talent into the organization to get done what needs to get done and help a company meet their strategic objectives. I would say if you are building a pipeline and building a use case, there is a question in the chat. What you want to look at for your pipeline is growth numbers. So continually building up that candidate inventory, but you want a quality measure on that, right? So you do need an individual on the front end of that, a sourcer, a recruitment marketer, whoever you're going to have in that role, qualifying those leads coming in, whether it's coming in from an inbound capacity attraction, or you have a sourcer that's going out and acquiring those leads. So you need to have growth numbers, steady growth numbers. The other reason why you need to have steady growth numbers is because as you're building up the candidate inventory, what did you say the other day? People are not Twinkies. they don't last on the shelf forever. They're quite activated in the market, so they will take other opportunities. They'll pursue other opportunities. So consistent and sustained growth of your pipeline numbers. Making sure that the people who are entering into the pipeline, that you're investing that time in nurturing those relationships, are qualified leads, so a good qualification rate. So I would say, like, what we operate at is a 2-to-1. So for every 2 people we talk to, 1 individual should be at a minimum accepted as a pipeline qualified lead. So that's the metric that you want to work with there. You want to check engagement rates. So as you are sending communications out, you want to maintain, I like to maintain above 60% engagement rate with individuals who are in the pipeline. So that means open, clicks, responds, taking action. So you want them to be interested in the content and information that you are sending them. And then the other thing that I will look at is positive outcomes, right? So you're building this candidate inventory up, you're spending this time engaging them, you want to get hires, you want to have a complete pull through. So the number of hires that come from your pipeline, and again, if you're just getting started, you want to aim for 1/3 of the hires in your critical talent segment coming from that pipeline. Over time, as you begin to accelerate and innovate your strategies, you want that to be your number 1, maybe number 2, it depends on how strong your referral network is, but source of hire overall. And so that's what I would look, so it's growth numbers, engagement numbers, hires.
And from my side, a few other things to track. Obviously, we're very conversational. We're not just doing chatbots, we're doing lots of things, but things we like to look at is sentiment analysis. Like, what kind of responses are candidates saying? What are they saying to you? Are we getting a lot of negative responses, or are we getting a lot of just like okays? Or are people getting quite excited? And you can tell that in just how they write. So a high sentiment analysis means you're doing the right thing. We also survey candidates all the time. We follow NPS, which is very software-y. But I recently had a conversation with an organization in New Zealand that for years have been doing the same thing because they're a government agency. And then they decided we're going to grow. We're opening a new site. So let's survey the candidates to see how we're doing. And pretty much 90% of them said it was a horrible experience and they hated every minute of it. So think how many people, if you're not surveying your candidates, you don't know what they're actually thinking. And so they took that feedback and they decided to revamp their whole process because they were like, well, how many quality talent candidates are just not bothering? If these guys suffered through it, but how many don't? And then things like completion rates. So are people from the top of your funnel completing your application process? Are they completing the questions that you need to ask them to actually get them to an interview? I think those metrics are all important. Sentiment, NPS, completion. Yeah. I realize we're coming closer to the end of our session. Has everyone been eating their lunch? You or are you all going for lunch next? I think we have one more poll. Maybe we could fire that through before we start to summarize today's discussion. Just let that come through. This is something we haven't touched on so much. Well, drip campaigns, I suppose we did, but yeah, I wonder if people have got strategies here.
I know, I just feel like there should be music.
Yeah.
Let's see the results.
Oh, wow.
Oh, good. Okay. Look at that, a third, and a third. Yeah, that's nice. The whole strategy planned. I like that. The whole strategy and sequencing. A little mass emailing, yeah, not really. Yeah, a lot of times what you'll see in talent pipelining strategies or the way different CRMs are set up are job alert systems, right? So that's one thing that I would urge is if you are emailing and you're only emailing jobs, you know, over time people will kind of get bored of that. They, you know, don't necessarily want to see that over and over and over again. So you'll have to have some other content in there. Again, if you have a blog or a vlog or other different content that your employment branding team is creating, you can use that and adapt it for a nurture sequence. I think it's really important too, as you have opt-ins, so people who are opting into the process, that right away you try to convert them to have, like you said, that personal touch, right? That kind of initial conversation to qualify them. That could also be a fun survey, right, that you do, is just kind of asking them a couple follow-up questions like, oh, great, thanks for, you know, joining our talent community. Tell us a little bit more about you. Like for us, you know, we would want to understand what your recruiting style is. You know what I mean? What kind of, like, if you had a recruiting persona, what would it be? And it's just an easy and fun way to engage in conversation with people who are opting in on their own accord. But a really good kind of sequence of like 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, space it out, experiment, learn what works, what doesn't work, where you're getting your conversions. I think that's the fun of the recruitment marketing and the pipelining and being able to experiment with some of those.
I was about to say, yeah, like experiment. You know, track what you're doing, do like A/B testing, like try different things all the time, always. That way, also you differentiate yourself. You know, I'm getting all these job alert emails as well because I've gone through so many different recruitment processes and it's just spam that, like you say, you get bored of, or if you don't get bored of, you just ignore. Or it just ends up in your personal inbox, which has about 25,000 emails that are unread. And they probably get another 1,000 each day. So, you know, you've really got to try to stand out. And that's why it's super important to experiment with other channels. Don't always rely on email. Don't always rely on SMS. Look at other ways to connect with your talent. Well, guys, I notice it's about lunchtime or end of lunchtime. Or for me, by the way, I didn't actually introduce myself properly. I'm actually on the other side of the planet right now. So it's actually like 1 a.m. for me. So this is good night. You know, thank you everybody for coming. Thank you for everyone who participated in all of our questions. Please do connect with me on LinkedIn. And, you know, we've got a bunch of blogs that we talk about candidate personas, using GIFs and emojis to engage your candidates. And please check out the Talkpush blog and reach out.
All right, awesome. And I would love for you guys to reach out to on LinkedIn. I'm Gillisa Pope. I'm the only one on there, so I'm easy to find. And I love, talking about this. So I'd love to connect and hear from you. Thank you everyone for joining and the wonderful questions. I had a great time.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Good night. Good morning. Bye, 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 bye. Ah.